Peter Sina, shifty work into the box. And across, it's in! Oh, it's LaRue! It's a dream return!
Welcome to Casual FC, an Angel City preview pod. I'm your host, Mario Salazar, with my amazing host for the second year now, Angela Morales.
Season 2.
Today we're going to talk to and get to know our supporters groups who are the heart and soul of La Fortaleza, or the Fortress, in the north end of the stadium. We're going to talk to Emily and Myte from the supporters group PodeRosas. So please, introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Grijalva. I am one of the proud co-founders, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I'm Myte. I am the producer of the PodeRosas FC podcast and relatively new member of PodeRosas. Just started this last season.
We actually have this thing where we sponsor like new members. And so I got the honor of sponsoring Myte. So I'm her madrina. So we kind of do that.
Oh, I love that.
My godmother.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. So I'm responsible for her. So she gets crazy and they come to me to talk about it.
Oh, I love that idea though. Like that's so fun. I love it. So as like big members in PodeRosas, like how did you come to the sport? Like did you play soccer? Are you just a fan? Did your friends drag you in and now you're stuck? Like how did the two of you get involved?
I'm definitely just a fan in the sense that I didn't play growing up. I was a runner. I'm still a runner, but team sports was not my thing. And I think that really disappointed my mom because she was a huge basketball player. And when she immigrated from Guatemala, she actually started a basketball league in MacArthur Park and played in the 80s. I have some great images of her. And both her daughters were not athletic at all. And so, yeah, she was pretty disappointed. But when I got a chance to go back to Guatemala and I spent most of my childhood there, my uncle would take me to our local soccer game, Shelahu. And I just remember having a blast. But for me, it was more like I'm spending time with my uncle. I'm getting snacks. Like, this is great. Tell me, don't repeat anything you hear. So that's how I understood. Yeah. So that's how I understand, like, football to be. It was very, like, heavy with men, drunk men, like cuss words, right? And then life happened, college, family, and I just kind of was living my life without really much knowledge of soccer until my friends dragged me to an LAFC game and to the supporter section, and I got hooked. And I was like, what have I been missing all this time? So I became a big LAFC fan, and I joined an unofficial supporter group called Los Tigres del North End. And through them, right, we're like a pretty big group. And once we heard that there was going to be the potential of a women's soccer team, a group of us were like, oh, man, just like we go hard for the men, the team, like we got to go hard for the women. And so we started preparing, and then we decided. And at first we thought we were going to be just kind of like a little section from Los Tigres and be like, are we going to be Las Tigresas, you know?
Yeah.
But then we were like, you know what? No, like this is completely separate. Like we want to have members who maybe go for Galaxy. We want to have members who maybe don't care about MLS. Like we are really committed.
That's me.
Yeah, a space that's just centered around the women's team. And so that's why we became a completely separate entity.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I played a little bit when I was a kid, but I was not good. And similar to Emily, though, I have these really good memories all my life watching like the World Cup games with my cousins and my family, and then later on with friends. So just one day, season ticket holders, two of my best friends, they gave me their tickets because they couldn't make it to a match. I was immediately just like in love with ACFC and like the entire vibe of it. So that's how I ended up there. I had been away from soccer for a long time before that, but yeah, I just reignited something in me, and I've been like obsessed for the past like 2 years, basically.
Probably the most relatable statement. Like I have been obsessed.
Yeah.
It will take over your life very quickly, but in a good way. It's a good obsession.
I don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, this is what I have to do every weekend for like the next 4 months. Okay. Like,
Sounds good.
there's far worse things.
It's funny because, like, my family now knows that about me. Like, at the beginning, they would roll their eyes when I'd be like, there's a game. I have to miss an event. But now they know. Like, they'll tell me they're considering a gathering, and I'll pull up ACFC's calendar, LAFC's calendar, and I'm like, nope, can't that weekend. And I had to explain to my mom that I was a season ticket holder, so I've already paid for the tickets, so I can't wait to let me. And so then she understood at that point. So now she backs me when I tell her that I can't go to certain events because games come first.
Yeah, if you go to any Latino parents and just be like, look, I've spent money on it already.
Yeah, exactly.
Go. And then they'll be like, well, can I come? Can I come too? And it's like, yes. And then they like, just bring the whole family. That's what you have to start doing, is like all those events or, like get-togethers that you may or may not be missing out on depending on the schedule. Like, just have them at BMO. Just be like, hey, so let's just get some cheap nosebleed seats or, like the lesser expensive supporter section seats, and like, just come hang out. It's a party regardless. So if it's a birthday party, even better. Half the supporter section will sing happy birthday to you just because. Like, yeah, just it's always a good time.
Great. So something that and I think you guys kind of touched on this, but we did want to know what was your favorite pre-ACFC memory? And it could be something that has to do with the team before, the team touched the pitch, or as you were saying, games in Guatemala. I remember I used to go with my mom to El Salvador like every summer, and I went to who knows why they let me, but at like 10 years old, went to an El Salvador Mexico game.
Oh my God.
El Salvador.
Wow.
Dude, my uncles were like, okay, we gotta, like, this is gonna be fun, but we gotta watch out. So it was intense, and it was in the rain. Like, that's cemented my love for the sport. But that love as we grew up kind of waned a little bit, and it kind of came back to it recently and with ACFC. So yeah, what's your favorite pre-ACFC WOSO memory?
I wish I had like something just off the top of my head, because like, unfortunately, it was all centered around men, right? My cousins would get me into the World Cup and things like that. So it was always men's soccer that I would watch. So if we're talking about women's soccer in particular, my favorite memories are, of course, when I was playing, and like,
I mean, those are the best ones too. So I mean, they're the most personal too, right? Because like,
yeah,
it was you, it was
everything. Carry those with you differently.
Yeah. I used to love it, even though I knew I wasn't good, but I loved it. So, yeah.
Same here. I was a good solid base to the team. Like, did you need someone there that can like be reliable? Yeah, that was me. Am I superstar? Am I goalie? No.
Yeah, like there's a reason why I didn't play soccer growing up. I have hand-eye coordination. I do not have foot anything coordination. Like I can play kickball like a champion, but soccer does not compute to my brain. I don't know why. Like my body is like, no, not, you can watch this one, but no.
I think for me, like I mentioned, I was kind of away from it while I was like, being an adult. And I think, during Trump's presidency, which is a very dark and depressing moment in my life, I started all of a sudden realizing, wow, he really doesn't like the U.S. women's team. I wonder why. Let me start paying more attention. And when he was like, I'm not going to invite them to the White House, and Rapinoe was being very in your face about it, I was so intrigued. And I think I started following the team for the first time because, I really following them. And I remember it was going to be, the final was going to be at 7 a.m. or something, really early. And we got the pub in Eagle Rock to open early. And I remember my friend picked up breakfast burritos and we went and saw them win. And again, the best, we were soccer fans. We were literally doing it because we wanted to see the political activeness of it, that it was going to get under Trump's skin. So literally that was probably the first time I saw full women's game for the first time. And early in the morning in a pub in Eagle Rock, and it was amazing. But I think that was probably the first. I mean, I wasn't even saying her name right. Like for a while, I was saying that like what like Rábano in a way. Like it wasn't
You were just
later
adding a little sauce to it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta go for Rapino. Rapino. I think that's how I was saying it. And then one day I saw it, like I heard it, and I was like, I've been saying her last name wrong the whole time. I just blamed English is not my first language. But yeah, I think that was the first time that I ever saw a full women's game, and it was amazing. And it's cool to now continue. Now I know her, I know the rest of the team a little bit more, also through their teams and NWSL.
That's fantastic. So to circle back to, so like from pre-ACFC, like inklings of WOSO even existing, and now you two kind of steer the ship for PodeRosas. Like, how did you all, I mean, you've kind of explained it a little bit, but like, what were those early conversations of, do we do this? Like, how did you get other people to kind of start a supporters group, start this like grassroots movement really, and like join another grassroots movement of the team and get that steam rolling behind your group? I'm always so curious how those like baby conversations happen.
Yeah, so several of us were part of Los Tigres in North End.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day we met in another co-founder's backyard, Daisy. There was like 6 to 8 of us. We had our like laptops open. We're like, are we going to do this? What's going to be our name? Let's start writing kind of like a mission. Who are we? So everything was like very like, planned in this like backyard. Right? We had like some drinks, some snacks, and, we
Best way
kind of
to do it.
decided like, yes, yeah, for sure. And, everything that we really created has always been very, intentional. Like even our name, PodeRosas, right? Like it means to be powerful, but also we really we kind of separate the pode and the rosas to make sure that the rosas stand out, because a lot of us are like community activists or like organizers, and many of us are like, the sons and daughters of immigrants. And so we're very conscientious about the laborers in Los Angeles. And so we love the whole idea of how during like the janitor strike or different labor movements, they talk about giving us, our bread and roses as well. And so we're actually paying kind of like homage to that in the sense of like, yeah, like, and then at that time, also, we were hearing about the women's, fight for pay equality. So we're like, oh, this is perfect. Like, we're demanding we get our roses now, and that the female athletes get their roses now, too. And so that's kind of where the name came from. We decided we were going to be social justice based. The way that we show up in the world is how we show up in the stands. We wanted to make sure that it was family friendly, queer friendly, woman-centered, women-led. So we had all these things. And some of it came from seeing the mistakes in the men's soccer world. Oh, yeah, we don't want that.
Like so many women and female run organizations, it's like, it's so much of it is us being like, yeah, no, not that. Like, and let's do this better. Let's run it back, run it again.
Yeah. And I mean, Mario, you mentioned you go to LAFC games too, and it's a different vibe. Like taking kids to the supporter section for LAFC games is not the safest and funnest thing for kids. I mean, unless you're like okay with your kid getting like beer showers and cussed out or that, right? With ACFC, it's so different. Like it's such a beautiful family space. And so like, yeah, like those are like the little things that we were like, okay, we're not going to do that. We want this. We're going to like make sure that we want to be there from the beginning to help build that culture and help build that understanding. And that's why we wanted to be like an official supporter group and be part of the collective, be part of like, all the decisions being made in La Fortaleza and connect with front office, because we wanted to be a part of building that culture with and reflecting those ideals and values that we have.
So how would somebody go about joining your supporter group?
I can speak to that a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
I know. Remember your madrina?
Yeah. Emily was my godmother, but that's kind of how it happens. Like, and I think this experience will probably speak for a few people. You literally are like in a different section of the stadium, and you look at La Fortaleza and you're like, what is going on there? And then you go and you talk to somebody. And the way that happens with PodeRosas is usually we tell you, hey, like come hang out with us at a tailgate, at an event in La Fortaleza, wherever you want. Like just come like hang out with us and make sure like this is like your community, your vibe, what you want to stand for. Because like Emily said, PodeRosas is very intentional. We're very political. We stand for what we stand for, and we're loud about it, and we don't like being censored, as we've recently made clear. So once, you kind of make an impression with the team, and you're like, yeah, like you're serious. You really want to be a part of this because it's a community. It's not something that you like subscribe to and then forget about. So then you get yourself a madrina, or maybe a padrino. And then, yeah, when the time comes, you get sponsored into the group, and yeah, and you get led into the Slack and the everything. But it's great because like the communication that like the founders like Emily have with the rest of the teams, and like the opportunity to step up. Like me, I was able to step up and create the podcast and have people come on, and like, the opportunity is there as long as you want it, and you can join if you want to. Like, it's all about wanting to, and like wanting to be a part of that community, and it's been like the best thing ever for me. So yeah, I recommend it highly.
I'm sure that, as in all groups, when you find the right people and the term "I found my people," right, is a very true one that happens to a lot of these groups. And being one of 6 nice supporters groups, but each one has really their own identity and their own vibe, and so it's just finding your people. It's about it's not to say your people are or these people are wrong. It's just it's the vibe. It's who you vibe with and who you're gonna have fun with. Because in the end, we're there to chant, cheer, scream, drum, throw smoke, do all of that
All the
for
things.
all
Yeah.
the things for the 18 women, the 11 on the pitch and the bench, and everybody else on that team to kind of really get them going and support on what they do. So that's amazing. I honestly, I did not know about the padrino and madrina.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's also like a way to check in and make sure that we're like really getting to know our members. Cause like Myte said, right, it's not just about like subscribing and then that's it. Like, we want to make sure that you're okay. You haven't you haven't been coming to the games. Is everything all right? We want to make sure that we are like also celebrating, jobs, babies, weddings. There was one like first season, there was like 4 weddings and, and also for like the hard times too, like some of our members have gone through some really rough times and we want to be there. So it's again, like being very intentional and wanting to really build meaningful community beyond the tailgate and, the stands. And so it really helps to know that, okay, you have somebody that's like, kind of looking out for you and making sure that, and then if you have questions too, as you like on board, right, that there's somebody that's like, that you can go to and ask questions and things like that.
Yeah, it almost sounds like it's like a small, or I don't want to say small because that almost sounds like it's diminishing the impact it can have, but it's like another form of mentorship where it's like you can be someone that someone else looks up to in the network of supporter groups and network of community. Like there's so many little pockets. Like we joke that like you have your supporter groups and then you have the section you sit in if you're not in the north end. Like my 227 family, like we're tight, and it's so fun because it's like you're part of supporter groups, you're part of, the section you sit in. This whole fan base is so communal on so many levels, and being able, especially like for younger fans or younger, like, I mean, I say this like I'm 75 years old and I'm like, I'm not even 40, but like there's such a fun opportunity to be there for folks who are in their 20s and, or a little bit younger who are like, oh yeah, life is crazy. And you're like, oh, just wait, like, and then to help them through different situations and things like that. And I think that's so cool that you are so intentional with that and so giving with like time and energy and all of that, because that's a lot. Like it's a lot to just run a supporters group. That alone, baseline, there's paperwork, there's planning, there's, marketing, it's a whole company in itself, like it's basically a second, third, fourth job, whatever's going on in your life. But then to say, oh no, I want to make sure that these folks have people looking out for them. Like that's dope. Just in general, like that's so cool. And also, like, I learned something today, and I always wondered, like, since day one for me, why the R was capitalized, and now I know. So thank you. I was like, that's not an accident. You know, it's very intentional. It's very much on purpose. Why?
Yeah.
I had a feeling. I was very close. I will say that. So yay for speaking Spanish.
That's awesome though. I do feel that everything you guys are coming with is just, it's coming from the right place, and that's always the very first step of, like, you know, that this group is going to be, like, if you found your people, like, these are going to be your people, right? And like you mentioned, through thick and thin, through ACFC and non-ACFC things, like, these are going to be your people, and that's awesome. Now that you guys have formed this group and we've been going to these matches for 2 years, getting ready to go on to year 3 of Angel City, what has been your favorite memory with that team? And, you know, I think we wrote this as, like, on the field, off the field, at an event. I know that as supporters groups, sometimes there's, like, events with the team outside of, you know, game day. And so what has been your kind of, now that you found your group and you've gone through and supported each other, supported the team, what has been that highlight for you in this kind of short history that we've had?
For me, it was probably I went to the World Cup this year, or last year, and I got to follow around, you know.
What?
I got to follow around.
Yeah.
Riley for New
Just
Zealand.
casually.
I got to see her win the first game, New Zealand.
Oh,
I saw like 2 games with Endo, absolutely destroyed Spain. Who else did I see? And of course the US team. I saw, you know, Thompson play, and Ertz when she was still, you know, all of that. Like, I think that's probably the best, just because, like, it gave me so
Knowing
much
that was
more.
your home team.
Yeah, I'm like, those are my, and then ACFC, you know, when we're at home, we're, you know, with our supporters group, when you're at away games, all the supporting groups come together, and non-supportive group members, like, everybody comes together and they meet up and they hang out, and that's how I met a lot of people from other groups. And yeah, you're all ACFC when you're away, which is really, really cool. And I got to hang out with a bunch of people, meet a bunch of people, and yeah, so that's probably mine.
Man, you were at some, like, life-changing WOSO events. That's just, when we were doing our World Cup, like, pre-caps, like, this is your groups, this is when we're playing, all this. I was just like, I had the biggest FOMO probably I've ever had over any sport. And I was just like, I just wish I could teleport to New Zealand right now. But I'm so glad you were able to go. That's so cool.
He was so lucky that it was like they were all in New Zealand. Like, it was so lucky.
Yeah.
There's a big FOMO that's going to be coming when Paris comes around too, because we were both like, oh, that's this year. It's
both of us were like, do we try to go?
I feel like
that's a lot of money.
Like,
I feel like I want to try.
Family.
I shouldn't, but I want to try. Yeah.
We'll be the bad influence of say try.
So mine isn't. Well, that's what my kid told me, because I was like, "There's no way I could." And my kid's like, "Why are you saying?"
Yeah,
that's one of those, like,
friends.
ultimate, you tell me to follow my dreams and do the things that I love doing. Why aren't you? And you're like, rude. Don't put that back on me.
So I did not get to go to New Zealand, but I did get to go to Houston to watch an away game there. And so again, I'm trying, right, to make sure that the same energy that I give our boys in LAFC, I give to our girls in ACFC. So I was planning to go to Austin to see the boys play Austin. And I saw that the girls were going to be in Houston the next day. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to hit both up this weekend. So I went to LAFC in Austin on Saturday, the next morning. And then I told a bunch of other PodeRosas who are also, like, fans of both. They're like, we want to do that too. So then they also ended up doing that. So we got on a bus early in the morning and made it to Houston, and then got to see the girls play Houston Dash and beat them. And it was
going to
really
ask, is that the game we beat them?
Yeah, it was so exciting. And then, like, because there wasn't that many people in general in that stadium, which is kind of sad to see. And the color orange isn't cute. bus. I'm just gonna say that. Like, it was all orange, not that many people. I was like, all right, Houston, get it together. Yeah, and it was so funny because we went to the brewery in front of it. And we're like, oh my God, everybody's wearing orange. How cool. Like, they're like going to go to the game. And then we realized they were all like Astro fans. And we're like, oh my God, like even worse.
That's
Yeah, that is
Worse.
worse.
And they apparently didn't care that the game across from them because they definitely did not show up there. So that was not fun. But once we were there though, and we won, and it was so exciting because we were pretty up close, and because there wasn't that many of us as far as ACFC fans go, the team really came out to celebrate with us. So we got some great pictures, and we got to give the PodeRosas scarf to Coach Becky, and so that was really nice, to kind of celebrate with them. So I'm glad that we did that little trip. We were really exhausted, but it was so worth it. So yeah, definitely hoping for more away game this coming season.
That is something we have on our bucket list is away games.
Oh yeah, away games. We're hoping to catch a couple this season. Fingers crossed. But
I mean,
so when it comes to
San Diego ones are pretty.
that's yeah.
They barely
and what's
count,
really
I feel like.
well, the front office like rents out all these buses for us, and so all the SGs like that can go on this bus. It's like crazy tailgating on a bus too. There, we go tailgate, watch the game, and then they bring us back, so you don't have to worry about like driving. I'm hoping they'll do that with BFC. That would be amazing. That's a little too far.
That's
Maybe
a bit far.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
Maybe not a bus ride, but I am excited
Let's
though to go to BFC for sure.
Let's suggest we charter a plane. And everybody, we
Your
just get all the
Pacific
supporter
charter plane?
groups. I don't see why not.
It's
It's the same, just in the air
manifest.
on the freeway. Yeah, we're putting it out there. We're going to see what happens.
Yes.
So, yeah, with that, for the casual fans that just kind of are trying to figure out what supporter groups their people, what the vibe is, what's your advice to those folks who want to find out more about you? Like, how do they find you? How do they get involved with you guys? What it's the nitty gritty?
So definitely follow our Instagram. We're very active there. We always make sure to post about events that are coming up.
And
We sometimes have meet and greets. It's at PodeRosas_ACFC.
Okay.
And
it'll be linked in the post too.
We often
Yeah, we'll make sure it's up there.
nice. And then we'll sometimes have events. And usually the bar that we host our viewing parties is Distrito 14, which is an official bar sponsor for ACFC. And they're in Bowl Heights. A lot of us are, even though we're all kind of spread out at this point all over LA, most of the founders and a lot of the core group still tends to be in East LA, Bowl Heights area. So we tend to kind of gather there, but we understand now that we have people in the West Side, Long Beach. So we're trying to be a little bit more open to meeting in other places. And then now we're just shout out. There's a new coffee shop that opened in Bowl Heights called Picaresca Cafe. And I kid you not, every time you go there, you will find a PodeRosa. You will run into one no matter what. We have been going there every day, basically, some of the members. And then one of our members is a barista there. So you'll definitely see him, and he'll even write on the cup when we go and get coffee. Yeah, but we're very active in the community. We always post, through events. On Sunday, we had this beautiful solidarity kite event for Palestine, and it was at LA State Historic Park, and so many people came out. So we'll whenever we do events, we definitely post on Instagram, and it's usually open to anyone that wants to get to know us, hang out. And sometimes other SGs are very supportive. At the kite event, we had Mosaic and Pandemonium, so shout out to them. But yeah, definitely follow us there. And once the game, we always recommend people go to the tailgate. You can kind of walk around and see all the different groups are there, and just say hi, introduce yourself. We're very friendly.
Bring your kids too. The kids go and they play soccer. They eat food. We have the most kid-friendly tailgates ever. For sure.
Yeah. And sometimes have piñatas too. That's always fun.
Piñatas.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I didn't know you had piñatas.
Big soccer ball piñatas.
Nice. And for anybody who's not familiar about the tailgates happen in what's called Christmas Tree Lane, which is the large grassy area just to the north of the stadium. It's between the parking lot that you get shoved into when you get to the games and the stadium. And then at the other end is going to be the Coliseum. That's where all the SGs set up. Tailgates for pretty much every single match. And then whenever, it suits the team, they'll do the big fan fest events. But that's where it all happens. So any game, I would recommend, if you have the time, come down. Everybody's always super friendly. And just talk to everybody. I think I might have to do that myself. I've been to a handful of them, but I don't really get to them very often. I'm not even going to say very often. I don't get to them much.
Because you have two little kids.
Yeah, that's true. And coming from the valley with two little kids, I don't know, it just takes more time.
Yeah, but, I definitely this season need to go say hi to people, and especially doing these episodes, like now we'll know people and get to like give you podcast merch and all that kind of stuff. We'll make sure you guys get some stickers and things like that.
Thank you.
I feel like nobody ever is upset with a ton of stickers.
Yeah, especially when they're free.
We'll give you a PodeRosas.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
And something that I want to plug for you guys is your podcast. With Myte here being, I hear the podcast producer. So please tell us about that one. You have two essential podcasts in one.
Yeah, it's great. I've been podcasting for a few years, so when I came to it, I have a very structured approach to it. But Johnson, who is another one of the hosts, he was like, I want to do these live from the stands podcasts right after, makes you feel like you're there type of podcast. And let me tell you, it was genius. They come out so cool. It really does. I missed one game, and I felt like I was there when I listened to it. So it's really nice to have somebody to share in either the joy or the pain of it all after the game, and chatting with people, and that's been great. But also, it's been really awesome for me and as well, being able to hear all the founder stories, like Emily. You hear Emily's episode, you get everything we're talking about today. She goes really in depth in it, and we also talk about ACFC. So we talk about games. We talk about it's great. We even have a history section. It's been awesome being able to do this podcast and being able to share everybody's stories, individual members, because there's just some fascinating people. And but that's PodeRosas FC Radio, and it's on Apple, Spotify, everywhere. Yeah.
So before we wrap this whole thing up, I want to say thank you to both of you for coming. It's been an honor to hear the story and to really get at least the fans that we have that I know we're looking for, who is that group, letting them get to know you guys. But what's your thing that you're looking forward for 2024 for this third season? What are you hoping for besides a championship?
I know we were so close. Well, la tercera la vencida. Third time's the charm. We got it. Well, of course, I miss the stadium. I miss the tailgate vibes. Definitely miss hanging out with PodeRosas at the stadium. But I'm definitely excited. I'm glad that we re-signed, Gordon, LaRue. So I'm excited to see them again. Hammond, she's one of our favorites. And then the Thompson sisters. I'm really excited to see Giselle out there. I think it's really cool to have LA grown, young women of color take the pitch. And we already know that Alyssa is so talented. So I already kind of knew that her sister was training with her, and they were waiting until she was a little bit older to give her the contract. So I'm just excited to see. I'm sure we're going to go crazy when they both end up on the field. So looking forward to that.
That's going to be such a fun day, seeing both of them on the pitch together. And I'm so curious how the formation will line up. Are they going to be both on the same side? How do they play together? I have so many questions.
I know. The Switchblade sisters. It's exciting.
I know.
I'm looking forward to away days with PodeRosas, because I had so many away days last year for many reasons, and most of them were me hanging out with other groups. But this year, I am forcing all of you to go everywhere with me.
Challenge accepted.
I was going to say, I don't know how much forcing there's going to be. It's Oh, darn. I have to go to an away game with all my friends. Bummer.
I mean, if anybody listening wants to sponsor a trip for us,
We
will
can be
cut-
sponsored by Adidas Originals Club.
or an airline that just wants to sponsor PodeRosas, please.
But I have that team
Like
spirit.
Southwest come through.
Yeah, maybe not Spirit.
No, like
Because we want
Maybe not
because we want to
Alaska.
get there.
traumatic spirit.
Yeah.
Traumatic spirit experiences.
We can
in-
fly the
in
we can fly
Mario's.
the plane ourselves, so it'll be fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
With our powers combined. Like awesome. Well, thank you two so much for joining us, for talking about PodeRosas, and for just like being such a big, wonderful part of this community, like at large. We're so grateful to have you guys on, and I'm excited for this season. We'll make sure to come say hi at tailgates, all that good stuff. So with that said, if you like this, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all the other buttons that Mario clicks that I don't know what they are, both for Casual FC and for the PodeRosas podcast, which is PodeRosas FC Radio. I am now following you guys on Spotify, so no excuses from me if I have said I don't listen to an episode. Be like, Angela, what the heck? Get on it. Like, you have time. You listen to everything 2 times the speed. Go for it. But yeah, everywhere else, go to casualfc.com for all the different podcast links. Follow us on our socials at CasualFCPod on Instagram, the 3 Ts, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok. Make sure you tell a friend about the podcast, both ours and theirs. It does bring the team good luck. It has been proven. So make sure you talk about it. Make sure you spread the word. And if you feel so inclined, you can help support the podcast by buying us a coffee. Check out our link in our socials or go to buymeacoffee.com/casualfcpod. Don't forget, shop.casualfc.com has merch, and we've got some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Super pumped for the thing that's coming out like 14 seconds after the schedule drops. So be ready, pay attention, get hype. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you had fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you for having us. This was fun.